Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and discover how a tiny, everyday object sitting right there in your pencil case holds a surprisingly profound story about forgiveness and second chances. Today, we're looking at something so incredibly common, you probably haven't given it a second thought. But by the end of this, I promise you, you're going to see the history of humanity reflected in it. Seriously, what if you could never, ever erase a mistake? Just imagine the sheer existential dread of a world where every single error you make on paper is absolutely permanent. A world where you can never just wipe away a stray line or fix a quick typo. Every slip of the hand would mean you either live with a flawed document forever, or you literally throw it out and start the whole thing from scratch. It sounds exhausting, right? Today, the eraser is kind of like a little guardian angel. A quick rub and your error just vanishes. Now, this is an absolutely absurd contrast, isn't it? On one side, we have our familiar modern pink rubber eraser, a highly engineered little tool. But get this, just 250 years ago, erasers weren't made of rubber at all. People were literally taking pieces of stale bread, kneading them in their hands, and vigorously rubbing that food on their paper just to fix their mistakes. No way, right? It was an imperfect, totally messy solution, but honestly, it was all they had. Chapter 1. The World Without Erasers. From pumice to stale bread. So thousands of years ago, the ancient Egyptians didn't really erase. They literally took sharp blades and scraped layers off their papyrus to remove an error. Imagine ruining an entire priceless scroll just because you scraped a little too hard. Later, in ancient Rome, writers physically smoothed out mistakes in their wax tablets. By the Middle Ages, scribes actually ground dried ink off parchment using rough, volcanic pumice stone. And finally, by the 18th century, we arrived at that quirky method of rubbing kneaded stale bread onto pencil marks. For centuries, you guys, fixing a mistake was a literal, physical battle. Moving on to Chapter 2, the Rubber and Industrial Revolution, an accidental discovery. Picture this. The year is 1770. Meet an English engineer named Edward Nairne, the man whose happy accident completely changed everything. One day, he's working, and he reaches out for his trusty piece of stale bread to rub out a pencil mark. But by pure accident, he picks up a piece of natural coexist sap instead. When he rubbed this sap on the paper, the results were just incredible. It was soft, it cleaned the graphite away perfectly, and the best part, it didn't tear the paper. Right then and there, the era of the bread eraser was officially over. And this is wild. This bizarre tree sap was given the English name rubber for a very, very literal reason. Its primary, most famous function was the physical action of rubbing pencil marks off paper. An entire global material named simply after the motion we use to fix our typos. It's a real game changer. So, rapid 19th century industrialization takes this rare scientific curiosity and completely transforms it into an everyday tool. In 1839, Charles Goodyear invents vulcanization. This makes rubber incredibly durable, cheaply mass-produced, and accessible to everyone. Then, in 1858, a guy named Hymen Lipman had a stroke of absolute genius. He attached the eraser directly to the end of a pencil. This era basically birthed the iconic pink erasers we all recognize today, turning it into an engineered masterpiece. Which brings us to Chapter 3, the eraser in the digital age, modern context and challenges. Even with all our screens today, we haven't stopped innovating physical ways to correct ourselves. The modern eraser comes in some highly specialized forms now. We've got kneaded erasers designed specifically for artists, abrasive ink erasers, and get this, even battery-operated electric erasers for high-speed precision. The desire to physically fix our mistakes? It just continues to drive specialized design. Think about the traditional physical eraser, right next to the digital undo button. The digital undo serves exactly the same fundamental function, doesn't it? It's basically the modern digital descendant of that little piece of tree sap. But what's really fascinating here is that even with this instant magical button on our keyboards, the physical eraser stubbornly holds its place in modern schools, offices, and studios. We just can't seem to let go of the physical act of clearing the page. But actually, holding on to that physical tool brings up a real eco-challenge. Over the years, many erasers transitioned to synthetic plastics, which, as we know, creates major environmental issues. Today's manufacturers are urgently seeking biodegradable materials and natural alternatives. Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure the tools we use to fix our errors don't become a permanent mistake for our environment, right? And finally, Chapter 4, the silent teacher of history. A philosophy of second chances. The eraser is the silent teacher of history. I want you to just let that sink in for a second. It's a profound thought. This tiny, inexpensive object teaches us a vital lesson. Making a mistake isn't the end of the world. It tells us that an error is not a permanent stain, but an opportunity to rewrite, try again, and do better. Sometimes to fix something, you just need a second chance, and that is exactly what the eraser provides. Look at how our pursuit of second chances has evolved over time. Step 1, we literally used stale bread. Step 2, we discovered natural rubber. Step 3, we engineered plastics. And Step 4, we created the digital undo. The materials completely drastically transformed, but the goal? It remained absolutely identical. The true value of the eraser lies entirely in our unyielding human desire to correct ourselves. So, I have to ask, how are you going to view your next mistake? The next time you reach for that little pink piece of rubber, or just tap the undo button on your phone, remember the centuries of scraping blades and stale bread that got you there. You literally hold a piece of history in your hands. I invite you to carry this lesson of second chances with you today. Until next time, may you always have a second chance to get it right.